Hey, so I've been hearing this a lot, and a lot of people say that Gen Z, Generation Z, is the most depressed generation of all time. I hear this from boomers, I hear this from Gen Xers, I hear this from even millennials who pretty much can see and know why is it, but no one knows why and no one tells why. So I found out a few reasons, actually 7 reasons why I believe Gen Z is okay being the most quote unquote depressed generation of humanity or of all time. So here are the 7 ones. The first one is the everything bubble. So a lot of you may not know what an everything bubble means, but a bubble means when the value of asset or some kind of a trend or something has been way too over materialized and it is about to pop and things are going to go real bad real soon. It's kind of like a recession depression type of thing, but the mother of all when it's a everything bubble. So think about it this way. I was born in '02, right? Uh, so I'm 22 right now. People who are under the age of 30, or specifically under the age of 25, or 26, 27, 20, whatever it will be. For people like them, you will see the last 30, 35 years has been the most prosperous for humanity. How? Well, before I was even born, if you bought some real estate, the price of that real estate is kind of like 5 or 600 times, even 700 times, even if you live in India like me, it's like 2000% up. So 2000% up, like 20 times up. So that's a good thing, right? Nice. Then we have the value of assets, value of assets like fixed assets like gold, really safe assets. Gold, for example, has gone up like, I don't know, 800% or 7 to 8 times, right? I'll keep it percentage because it's easy. Then you look at stocks. Even after the dot-com bubble burst, which was a very big one, kind of like what the people are predicting for AI, and the Great Recession of 2008, most of the stocks around the world, irrespective of the markets, are up at least 10 to 20 times or 1,000 to 2,000%. Nice. Silver, again, up a few 100%. Real estate, as I've said. What assets are we left with? Oil? No, we cannot go with oil, but even oil is up, which is common sense. So everything has gone up except for one thing. And can you guess what? Wages. The wages have not gone up much. Heck, they haven't gone up at all. Why is that? How can the value of stocks go up? How can the value of real assets go up, real estate go up, gold go up, silver go up, and wages be fixed? But isn't it like you earn more and spend more? That's the issue. That's the issue. Because every asset that has gone up because it has gone up because of the people in the top have popped a lot in their real net worth and they have popped the prices up. Whether you take it gold, whether you take it real estate, whether you take it anything, specifically stocks. A person who's barely making $30,000 may not own stocks. He has no idea what stocks mean. But a person who owns $300,000 or $3 million a year definitely owns a lot of stocks, and probably that's the reason why the stock is going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So the everything bubble. Gen Z has faced the everything bubble in its worst shape because it's been kept pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping. Well, it's gonna go up forever. It's gonna go up forever. Yeah, sure, it's gonna go up forever. That brings us to the second one. This is fun, eh? The second one is the dream sold. So we were sold the dream. My mom sold me a dream, and the dream was this. Boy, you gotta do well in school. Okay, I did that. I'm gonna do well in university. I did that. Well, get a degree. Well, I almost did that. And you'll get a job and a stable life. And you'll have money. And you'll settle down with a girl. And marry and kid, blah 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 blah. None of that happened. And it's good none of that happened. The problem is the middle class, the modern society has been trying to dream. You got to go to school, you got to get good grades, you got to move out of this mediocrity, and you got to get a good job, you got to stable, you got to settle down, so on and so forth. But the problem begins here. That idea and that dream used to work 50 years ago. That you think used to work even 35, 30 years, 30 years ago. But that doesn't work now. I'm not saying that people can't get jobs. No. The people can get jobs, but 24% of the people in Gen Z are technically unemployed. That basically means every fourth person you meet in Gen Z is finding it very, very, very difficult to get a job. Why is that? Very simple, guys. And I'm not going to blame any company or government because there's a simple rule of demand and supply. I'll give you a simple example. If there's demand for 10 and it supplies for 10, it's a perfect market. 10 meets 10, perfect. But when it's demand for 5 and then supply is 50, only 5 are going to get that job or whatever the thing may be. And even the 5 who get the job will always be scared and never be able to get good wages, which brings us to point number 1, because the rest 45 are literally going to replace them in a split second. That's exactly what has happened with education and with the job market and with the job economy. There are so many smart, educated people going after the same thing over and over and over again. And this doesn't come from if you're a STEM student, non-STEM student. Well, a lot of STEM students are unemployed. Engineers can't get the job. Mathematicians can't, get a living, make a living. Why is that happening? Simple demand supply issue. They said go chase a dream, work hard, study all night, get degrees, so on and so forth. But they didn't say there's a limit to the number of people who will be employed. They just kept that part secret. Why? Because they wanted cheap labor. They wanted the gulags of Soviet Union or the sweatshop of China. But what happened indeed was you created an entire zombie generation that is educated, that is smart. Well, I'll tell you, that's very smart. But it has no opportunities. Like, it has to make its own opportunities, else it will not survive. And that's tough, that sounds tough. And I know maybe I'm not comfortable saying that, but that's the bottom line. If you're a Gen Z, you definitely got to do something on your own and build your own shots, else it's not happening. Not saying that the previous generation had it very easy. No, absolutely not. Specifically the generation that came after the '08 recession, but even they would agree that things haven't got better and better. Things have got just worse and worse and worse. And next, the Gen Alpha or whatever the generation comes after Gen Alpha, they're going to see that because now you have AI as well. A lot of people say that, the Gen Z is depressed, kind of like because, when you're young and you got to settle down, marry, have kids, so on and so forth, and you'll be fine, your mental health will be fine. Yeah, sure, why not? That's so easy, right? So cool. Well, this morning, accidentally, I was seeing something, and I'll take United States as a sample example because it's easy to understand for all. The median income in the United States right now at this point is $48,000, as you can see on the screen. The median house in the United States costs over $404,000. That's 9 times almost. 8 times. They can have 9 times. Just 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that was just 6 times or 5 times of your median income. Think about that. You literally need to just, earn for 20 years and spend not a single dollar, which is technically impossible mathematically. Then you will be able to afford a house. And God bless you if interest rates are stable back then. If interest rates rise and fall and the turbulence happens, then, well, God save you from that. So things are not that cheap anymore. The days of the cheap thing, one daddy earning thing, mommy being at home, 5 kids, she's raising comfortably, and daddy's working at farm or at General Electrical. Those things are gone. Those things are gone. Home costs $404,000 United States. Again, it's a simple example. College education costs around $120,000 to $150,000, and that will produce degrees that are technically more or less useless. Then you have your undergrad thing, which I counted already. Then you have the cost of raising a family. That costs money. I know it's uncomfortable to count all these things because these are personal things, but when one part of the economy is stagnating, which is wage growth, and the other part of the economy is growing like crazy, which is inflation and which is cost of everything, something is wrong. And you end up thinking you're a fucking idiot. You are the loser that can't do things because 3 doors down the lane, someone else is literally making $1 million because they're in banking or in finance or in tech, most probably. And you can't even look in your partner's eyes because you're like, maybe I'm a failure. And maybe you are, I don't know. Maybe you're not. Probably you're not. Probably it's because our modern society has basically made two or three industries glorious: tech, finance, period. The manufacturing jobs, I was looking at this morning again. Manufacturing job in the United States used to make 40% of the GDP, 40 or 45%, 50% of GDP. Right now in 2025, that is under 9%, 8% of GDP. Because you guys left nothing to manufacture. You imported everything. Everything. You just outsourced. Outsourced and outsourced. And I was just 8%. There was time. Sorry, I'm going to take this. But a person who's 70 or 80 right now used to work at General Electronics or General Motors or Ford in manufacturing, had 3 kids, retired with a lot of money, retired with 2 homes, and is living a great life right now. The boomer generation, which we call. How did that happen? Well, because people back then were not forced to either go into tech or finance. No one used to go into tech and finance back in the 50s and 60s. There was no finance. There was no hedge funds. There was no private wealth management. These things were being built. There was no derivatives market. There was hardly a stock market which used to exist. That's it. Buy and sell. That's all. Fine. And tech, there was maybe IBM and something were there, and the geeks used to go there. That's all. People used to go in manufacturing. People used to go in production. People used to go in agriculture. Now, good luck with that. Because a banker or a techie is going to literally make 200K, 300K a year at 25, and you at 25 are going to barely make 40K in manufacturing or something like that, or even 50K, whatever it is. So the gap between the people who can and the people who can't is so large, you can't even imagine. The fourth one is really simple, and someone pointed this out the other day. And it's the gap between the worker and the CEO. Again, I'm not trying to have some kind of a weird debate, but it's common sense. A Starbucks employee or worker, whatever you want to call that, earns around, I don't know, a few $1,000s. The CEO of Starbucks earns 6,000 times more than that employee. 6,000 times. Fun fact, the CEO of Starbucks got a new office from Starbucks just so that the gentleman doesn't have to travel too much and life becomes easier for him. Now, I'm not saying cut all of that all the time. No, not at all. But when you see the top guy in your company, the CEO, obviously, in this case, is making 6,000 times more than the guy at the bottom, or the guy who's an employee, a 22-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old, you understand capitalism lost the race. Something happened in between where it's not everyone gets everything. It's winner takes all. And if you want to be the winner, you need to snatch everything from everyone else you're going to be the loser and get snatched. It happened, and it is happening, and the wide gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to reach a point of no redemption. You gotta hustle to get things. And this is the thing that I love about Gen Z. And I'm a Gen Z and I love this thing. You gotta do really, really hard things to get the things you want. Car, home, good life, wealth, whatever. Good thing. Perfect. Fine. A million people do that. Hustle, what I call, and what you call. Only 10 are gonna get that. What about the rest 990,990? They are going to end up thinking themselves as the biggest losers of their life. Well, some of it may be their fault, perfectly fine. Some of that may be the laws of success or the laws of average didn't favor them. But that's not the point. What if someone doesn't want to be in tech? What if someone doesn't want to be a financer, banker, investment banker, whatever? What if someone doesn't want this? What if someone wants to be an artist? Lives close to the beach, wants to make a decent income, have a decent life, raise a family, make money, have babies, period. Is this economy Is this world even going to favor that? Because guess what? 50 years ago, it used to happen. Even 20, 30 years ago, it used to happen. Now, I'll give you an example. My teacher lives in one of the most expensive places in the world, San Francisco Bay Area. And he said this to me over and over again. He said, boy, you are not going to take a programming job. And I said, why? Why? Well, I can do programming and finance both. Fun fact. So this is why I consider myself to be a bit lucky, because I'm in two of the most lucrative industries, But not everyone is that lucky. So I'm grateful. So he said, don't take a programming job. And I said, why? He said, recently, literally recently, I'm talking about 3-4 days ago, there's this big tech company. They fired 12,000 people. 12,000 in one go. 10% of the workforce gone, / in one go. One email gone. And that's not the first layoff of the day, of the year. It's basically the third or fourth layoff. They have technically laid off 25% of the workforce. Microsoft, another big company. You know what? 40% of the code that Microsoft writes, this Microsoft is a tech company. 40% of it is now written by AI. Yes, there's a human inspector there. And the code that people are writing now is the code that people who are writing is now written by AI and now checked by human inspector or coordinator, whatever. Not long from now, AI is going to write the code, AI is going to check the code, AI is going to implement, and AI is going to deploy. Then, so the jobs that we said, again, as coming to my second point, the dream sold, the jobs that we said, oh, go in tech, learn to code, you'll be really, really successful, so on and so forth. Even that is not safe. Even that is going. Either you need to be very, 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 very good and build software like crazy and sell and have a ton of capacity to sell well and be a good seller, raise a lot of money and be kind of like safe and hope that that startup doesn't fail, or you're under the bus. Because I see people with programming experience 20 years scared to death. Not because this AI thing is better or not, but this AI thing is more economical. And in the laws of capitalism, guys, there are only two ways you can make money in capitalism. Number one, you earn a lot of money. Number two, you earn money, but you have literally your expenses at zero. If you earn $100 and your expenses are at zero, your profit is like $100. If you earn $1,000 and your expenses are at 100, your profit is $900. So there are two ways. Either earn a lot of money and have expenses, or earn good money and have literally zero expenses. That is how companies think in terms of increasing revenue, income, or reducing expenses. And layoffs is basically expenses. Employees are nothing but expenses. You are an expense. I am an expense for any company. Doesn't matter. Family and all that crap. You are an expense, period. And the company will do anything and everything to cut you off. Not saying about tech, not saying about finance, about any industry right now. We are in that time. And, well, did people before us face this? Absolutely they did. Absolutely. But not at this volume. Not at this volume. So, things are not all bad. Things are really, really good. I think this is the best time to be alive, make money, have family, have kids, so on. I'm very, very, very optimistic. And you'll be like, yeah, lucky you because you're... No. Even if I was in really simple industries, doing blue-collar job, I'm very, very optimistic. But the results are not going to be same for everyone. I promise you. This one's really interesting, right? The debt bomb or the debt trap, I would say. Most countries or most developed countries that a lot of you live in, as I see from the list, America, Canada, Italy, France, UK, you know what these countries have in common? They have terrible amount of debt. I'll give you a very simple example. How big of a money is $38 trillion? Well, let me tell you this. There are only two countries in the world that have GDPs that are close to this digit. One is America, the other is China. Except for these two nations, no country has an economy even closer to 38 trillion. But why did I say $38 trillion? Where did I pop that out from? $38 trillion almost is the amount of debt America has right now. 38 trillion. You know what? This year in January, when I checked, it was 35 point something trillion dollars. And we are not even at the year end. This is October something. I think it's 6th October 2025 while I'm recording. And the debt is at 37.8 or $36.8 trillion or something. Sorry for the error if there occurs. How did that happen? Well, we are not interested in that. But let's look at Spain or let's look at UK. Again, same issue. Debt to GDP ratio is 100%, 200%, 300% for UK. You know what it means? For every $1 the UK government gets, it is spending $3 or £3 on it, whatever you want to call that. What is happening? Where did you get so that? Why are you taking so much loan? And who is giving you so much loan? Because anyway, the people in charge right now are not going to be alive in the next 20, 25, 30 years, I promise you. Who's going to pay that? You are going to pay that. Just this morning, again, accidentally, I was running a simulation with DeepSeek, which is R1, a model from China, the AI model. And I said, hey, buddy, and this is how I talk to AI because I'm crazy. I said, you know, the US debt is 38 trillion or so, whatever. How much time is going to take for the debt to be 100 trillion? No, how much time is going to take for the debt to be 50 trillion, 54 trillion? It said, well, bro, this is how the AI replies to me. It's going to take 9 years. 9 years. This is the digit. This is the, by the way, estimation from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, United States of America. 9 years for the debt to be moved from 38 or 37 trillion to 54 trillion. And then I said, well, I'm curious how long it's going to take to get 100 trillion. And I thought maybe 50 years or 40 years. It said, nobody. 2042 or 2045, I mean, 20 years from now, the US debt is going to be over $100 trillion. $100 trillion. Now, assuming if you pay an interest rate of 3 or 3.5 or 4%, 3.5%, let's be conservative, that's $3.5 trillion you need to pay just to keep yourself afloat, or else you default on your debt by the year 2045 or something. Think about that. I will be in 2045, 20 years from now, I will be 42. So in my prime earning age and prime family raising age, I'm not an American still, but I will be affected anyway. If the dollar is still the reserve currency back then, the United States will have 100 trillion of debt. Interest on the debt would be the greatest spending. Right now, when we're talking in 2025, as I'm recording this in October, interest payment is, I think, the second largest expense of the US government. It's sitting around at 822 billion, just as I've checked this morning. Next year, 2026, it's going to cross $1 trillion net. If you look at gross, then it will be, I think, 1.2 trillion or 1.3 trillion. That is the state of affairs. And just the United States, I'm not going to blame the poor baby there. No, beautiful country. Canada, same issue. Japan, worse issue. India, well, India is pretty much in control, but number is rising quick. Italy, worst issue. France, same issue. UK, same issue. You just change the countries. All these countries are taking on more and more and more debt. Who's going to pay that debt? They are not going to pay that. Most of the leaders of these nations are in the late 70s. They are not going to be bloody alive to even see this dead bomb collapse. Who's going to be alive? You are going to be alive. Who's going to be alive? I'm going to be alive. Who's going to be alive? Our kids are going to be alive to see this thing. And for people who understand mathematics, this simple mathematics. If you always spend more than you earn, there will be a point which is inevitable. You will go bankrupt. You need to declare insolvency. You need to stop your operations. And I know it sounds uncomfortable if you're an American or a European or an Indian, I understand. But the laws of money, the laws of numbers are the same, darling, for everyone. Doesn't matter. You're an Indian, Chinese, you're an Asian, an African, Australian, European. The laws of mathematics, the laws of physics work the same way. So these are some of the reasons why Gen Z is depressed. And yes, there are other reasons. Yes, Gen Z is maybe a bit weird, cringe, lazy, if you want to call that. But there are some genuine problems that are surrounding us that take a lot of our time. And if you are not a Gen Z, millennial, a boomer, try to help a Gen Z around. I don't know, give them maybe a job or something, or help them, guide them, teach them, or maybe at least take some pressure off them if you can. You're doing a favor on your generation only, because Gen Z is nothing but an extension of boomers and millennials, and yeah, you know what I'm saying. Humans for humans. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting me vent out. That's so good. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.